Hello, this is Scott Hembro from Hembro Business Systems, and I'm back to cover part two for handling objections more effectively and profitably. Now, in part one, I shared a technique I'd learned many years ago from a trainer by the name of Stephen Brown from the Fortune Group out of Atlanta, and it taught me that the real selling begins when the prospect, says no. For years I was spending a lot of time and effort and energy overcoming objections or believing the customers or letting them walk and hoping they'd be beat back. But once I learned to practice this technique, it increased my income dramatically. So before we begin, let's briefly review what we covered in part one. We discussed after, we'd gone through the steps of the road to the sale, the meet and the greet and so on, and we'd present the numbers and ask the customer to buy. This is where they would typically, refuse, object, delay, lie. But this technique is specifically designed to help us at that point. Now, we reviewed, a lot of salespeople will quit, they'll give in, they'll give up. We don't want to do that. A lot of salespeople will just start trying to overcome the objection right then and there, and putting their foot on the gas pedal and trying to sell more, and we don't want to do that. Some people will use why or a variance of that, but the reason why is not the best technique is it puts pressure on the prospect. It forces them to be defensive. And so we do want to ask a question at this time, but we want to ask a question that's less direct, a bit softer, and allows the customer to still feel like they're in control. So the approach that we learned in part one was to respond with apparently you. So when the customer says no, it gives it, and gives you an objection. So let's again go through the, step by step about when we ask the customer. So, salesperson, Mr. Prospect, in your opinion, do you feel this vehicle meets all of your needs well enough to take it home with you right now? Customer, no, we never buy on the first visit. We have more shopping to do. Salesperson, well, apparently you have some reason for feeling that way. May I ask what it is? Customer, well, one of the things that I just don't feel the vehicle has enough power, to tow the trailer that we planned on pulling. So bingo, now at that point in time, you're either going to address the situation, or you're going to educate the prospect, or you're going to switch vehicles. So, great. Now that we have an objection, but also remember in part one, I asked you a question about prospects. And prior to visiting the dealership, I asked, how many of them do you think, come up with a getaway story before they come visit? When I ask salespeople this, they say, most everybody does. Almost all of them will. So now we need to discuss how to make certain that the no, the rejection, the getaway, or whatever it is the story that is really preventing them from buying. You see, the only objection that you need to address is the real one. And using this technique will not only make you money, but also it's going to save you a tremendous amount of time. I mean, from my personal experience, I can't tell you how much time I wasted. I would ask a customer to buy. They said I'd not given them enough for their trade. So, man, I went to work. I worked the desk. I worked the used car manager. I got them more for their trade, and then I asked them to buy it again. They still refused. And I was angry, all the work I'd done, everything I'd accomplished for them, and they still didn't buy. And so I asked again, and they said, well, the payment was still too high. So I went to work again. I worked the desk, I worked the F&I guy, and I got it down to exactly where they want, and they still didn't buy. Well, the purpose of this next step, and why this step is so critical, is to make certain that the answer that they're giving us is the real reason. And, we only want to deal with the reason that's not, that is preventing them from moving forward. And answering these other ones is a waste of time because all they are is excuses. So let's take it from the top. Mr. Prospect, in your opinion, you feel this vehicle meets all of your needs well enough to take home? Oh, we never buy on our first visit. We have more shopping to do. Well, apparently, you have some reason for feeling that way. May I ask what it is? Well, one of the things I just don't feel comfortable with is that I don't think the vehicle has enough power to tow the trailer we're planning on pulling. Well, Mr. Prospect, if you are not concerned, listen again. Mr. Prospect, if you are not concerned with the power for towing the vehicle, for your towing, do you feel this vehicle meets all your needs well enough to take home right now? So at this point, they're in a fork in the road. And, this is how you determine whether they're going to move forward. Now, number one, if it's the truth, they're going to stand on it. They're going to repeat and say, yeah, but, now you know that you're dealing with the truth. But in most instances, it's an excuse. It's a getaway story or a stall. And, such as, well, I don't think you're giving me enough for my trade, they might come back. So the question would, be, is that really truth? We don't want to assume it is. So, Mr. Prospect, if you were not concerned with the trade amount, do you feel this vehicle meets all of your needs well enough to take it home? Customer responds, yeah, before I came in, I went online and put all the information in for my trade, and the computer said it's $1,500 more than you're giving me. Bingo. Here's the truth. They stood on it. They repeated it. So, and acknowledged this is the reason they're not moving forward. You see, salespeople waste more time, which is what I used to do, and get more frustrated, which is what I used to do, because they were trying to handle objections that really weren't objections. They were getaway stories or excuses or little lies. But, we know all customers will use these, when they're shopping for vehicles. So, one more benefit of using if you're not concerned is it gives you a technique that's persistent but not pushy. So let's do it again. Mr. Prospect, in your opinion, do you feel this vehicle meets all your needs well enough to take home right now? No, we never buy on the first visit. We have more shopping to do. Well, apparently you have a reason for feeling that way. May I ask what it is? Well, one of the things I'm concerned with is I just don't feel the vehicle has enough power to tow the trailer we're going to be pulling. Well, Mr. Prospect, if you weren't concerned with the power for towing your trailer, do you feel this vehicle meets all your needs well enough to take home right now? Well, I just don't think you're giving me enough for my trade. Well, Mr. Prospect, if you weren't concerned with the trade amount, do you feel this vehicle meets all your needs well enough to take home? Yeah, but before I came in, I went online and put all the information in for my trade, and the computer said that it was worth $1,500 more. So, bingo, there it is. This is it. Now, again, you either justify the trade amount, work the deal a little bit more. This is a process that is store-driven and not one that I'm going to get into. The point, by using apparently you, and if you are not concerned, you now have step-by-step ways to handle objections more effectively, more professionally, and more profitably. But remember how we started part one. We started with a lineman for the NFL, how they started playing football in high school and practiced block and tackling. They went on to college and played for 4 years or so, and now they're at the pro level. But they're still practicing daily block and tackling. I don't care what technique is shared with you. The only way to really make it work and to make it work profitably is to practice, practice, practice. So please take this technique, apparently you, if you are not concerned, and you practice these over and over again, and they will make you more money. So thank you for listening. If you have any questions or you need additional help with these ideas or techniques I've shared, email me, give me a call. But until next time, thank you, and remember, sell a car, be a star.